The sad story of the Olsen twins breaks my heart. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen were famous all over the world before they could walk. They made a lot of money and became common names through Full House and a growing media company. But along with the fame came a lifetime of pain, stress, and trying to be perfect. The Olsen twins' story is one of lost youth and found adults through survival. They dealt with eating disorders, invasive media attention, a broken family, and intense public obsession. Now that they are almost totally out of the spotlight, their silence says it all. Early years and career as actors. A lot of kids dream of becoming stars or actors, but Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen didn't even have time to dream before it came true. They were only 6 months old when they were cast in the pilot for Full House. By the time they were 9 months old, they were already working, switching between scenes to follow rules about child labor. The Olsen twins were born in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles, to David Olsen and Jarnette. They couldn't even talk yet. Ashley got there 2 minutes before Mary-Kate, which makes her the bigger sister. Their start in show business was pretty much by accident. Jeff Franklin, who created the show, was amazed by how calm and at ease the kids were around strangers when they took them to an open casting call. That laid-back charm got them both the part of Michelle Tanner, which would shape their lives and make them famous all over the world. The Olsen family was more than just a cast member from the start. They were a story. Michelle Tanner quickly became the show's big star, and their involvement with the show was a big reason why it was so famous. However, the 2015 Lifetime movie The Unauthorized Full House Story says that the show's creators and cast may have been having some problems getting used to the fact that their younger stars were now its biggest draws. Because of California rules that limit how long a child actress can work, they could not work more than 20 minutes per show, so they took turns playing the part. Even though it was the law, it wasn't really able to protect them from the stresses of being professional entertainment. Before they even learned to read, they were constantly watched and closely controlled during what should have been a time of finding and innocence. In the early 1990s, the media was already looking at them in a way that hinted at the close attention that would come in the years to come. In a 1991 article in the Washington Post, the twins were called infatuated, but the same article also said they weren't very good at playing, which was a sly dig at their age and humanity. After many years, Mary-Kate would think back on her youth with caution instead of love. Even though the show was a big hit, she made it clear in interviews that she would never want her own kids to be on it when they were that young. No one, not even her own kids, would want to go through what she did after seeing how much it cost. The signs of horror were there from the start. What started out as a cute casting choice turned into a full-blown identity problem for two kids who had been shaped by a system that put performance above personality. It wasn't like they were just acting, they were living a part. Mary-Kate and Ashley were supposed to be stars first and people second, even when they were babies. It broke my heart that no one around them seemed to ask how much that might cost. Parental divorce, the show stopped after almost 9 years, and that was the first big change in the Olsen twins' lives. Not only were they leaving a popular TV show, but their parents, Dave and Jarnette Olsen, who had been co-running their growing business together, also announced they were getting a divorce in early 1996. It seemed like the girls were stepping away from their childhood roles at the same time that their real home life was slowly falling apart. According to some newspapers, the twins' stress over handling their multi-million-dollar brand was to blame for the breakup. But the truth was less dramatic and more personal, and unfortunately ordinary. Mackenzie was the name of the woman Dave started seeing. She used to work with him before he quit his job in the banking business. He got married to her only 1 month after the split became known. The speed with which they got married again made the news, but the emotional fallout was more telling. It was said that Ashley didn't go to the wedding because she wanted to stay with their mom, but Mary-Kate did go. That time, when two girls were split up between two parents, showed how their world, which used to be very well organized, was becoming more and more divided. Dave said everything was fine and that the girls were okay, but Jarnette didn't say anything. But the family was falling apart, and the twins, who were still young, had to deal with both a hard job and a broken family. Mary-Kate later told Entertainment Weekly that they tried to stick to normal childhood habits, even though their lives were crazy. Like any other kids, they went to school, played with their friends, and had sleepovers. The twins did go to a traditional school, Campbell Hall Episcopal in Studio City, which is good for their parents because it is a private school known for supporting imagination and self-discovery. The truth was, though, that their idea of normal was always subjective. Even the memories they had of high school were shaped by work. One big example is when they missed their senior prom because they were hosting Saturday Night Live that same night. They chose to promote their movie New York Minute instead of going to the prom. It was another warning that work always came before family, no matter how hard they tried. This part of their lives, which was marked by divorce, too much work, and a desperate attempt to keep things normal, fit into a bigger pattern. The twins had to constantly adjust to a world that treated them more like adults than kids. At the time, they didn't talk much about how it made them feel, but as they got bigger, the weight of it all became clearer. After Full House, the Olsen twins' jobs didn't slow down after their parents split up and Full House finished. They might have even sped up. The girls were busier than ever, just a few years after their parents split up. They were both guest stars on an episode of Seventh Heaven in 2000, where they played rebellious women called Sue and Carol Murphy. The next year, they were in two new shows, ABC's Mary-Kate and Ashley in Action and Fox Family's So Little Time, a live-action comedy. Neither show went on for more than one season, but their company kept growing. Mary-Kate was even nominated for a Daytime Emmy for her act, which is another big step she has already taken before most kids get their learner's pass. At that time, they had a reach that was hard to beat. The Olsen twins were all over the place, from TV to toys. The name of their fan club was Mary-Kate and Ashley's Fun Club, and it ran until 2000. People who joined spent money and got cool stuff like posters, pictures, a magazine called Our Funzine, and a list of collectibles. Members also got a membership card, signed pictures, and little surprises like keychains or song lyrics. The club was a huge hit. It was advertised at the start of their movies and was an important part of their brand's growth. Between the late 1990s and early 2000s, Mary-Kate and Ashley weren't just actors. They lived a full life. The brand was on everything: shoes, bags, clothes, books, makeup, CDs, video games, even phones and CD players. Mattel made fashion dolls of the twins from 2000 to 2005. They came with clothes and other items to match. Their faces were always there in the lives of preteens all over the world. But there was something more disturbing going on beneath the glitz and marketing deals. There was never a real break, and she was always in the spotlight. Each year brought more picture shoots, press, and new products. The twins were not only famous when they were 13, they were also CEOs. It made them a lot of money, but it also took away the one thing they couldn't get back: their time, privacy, and sense of who they were. It looked like a dream job, but it was really just a corporate machine run by schedules, profits, and public demands. Even though they sold the idea of a carefree and fun teen life, their own lives were busier and more lonely than ever. This part of their work wasn't a break from the past. Instead, it got worse. The tragedy wasn't that they failed. It was that they were successful without freedom, well known without privacy, and slowly losing the ability to live outside of their own brand. Starting a business while in college, most kids have a party or rite of passage for their 18th birthday, but Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen marked theirs by taking over a company. The twins became co-presidents of Dual Star Entertainment Group in 2004, just as they turned 18. This was the company that had turned their youth into a product and made them a billion-dollar brand. They were in charge of it for the first time. Now, when the twins took full control of Dual Star, they started to move it toward an older audience. They went beyond making content and selling goods for kids and started making products like home decor, fragrances, and fashion items for teens. They helped the brand become a world business very quickly. Now their goods are sold in over 3,000 USS shops and more than 5,300 places around the world. Their impact went beyond the screen, and starting in 2002, Forbes put them on its Celebrity 100 list because of how smart they were at business. In 2007, they were named as the 11th richest women in show business with a net worth of about $100 million. 0 cents. The Olsens planned to keep balancing school and business after they graduated from Los Angeles's prestigious Campbell Hall School. They were both accepted into NYU's Gallatin School of Individualized Study. This school would let them make individual lessons while still running Dual Star. It was supposed to be the best of both worlds, a chance to make your own academic plans while still running Dual Star on a daily basis. They hired a fancy apartment in Manhattan and an office building close by. It looked great from the outside, two young women on the verge of becoming adults going to college while running a global business, but things didn't go as planned and quickly fell apart. Mary-Kate and Ashley were admitted, but they never really got used to college life. By the end of their second year, both had quietly quit school. Officially, they said they wanted to focus on Dual Star, but it looked like there were other things going on as well. It was partly because of the huge amount of stress, the lack of privacy, and the fact that they couldn't live like regular students. They had a lot of freedom with Gallatin's self-directed school, but not much classroom structure. Some people thought that maybe they were never really determined to finish school in the first place. Mary-Kate hinted in comments that it was hard to find balance. They got a taste of a life they had never had in college, one that wasn't planned, was unplanned, and was free. But it couldn't last. They lived in a world other than NYU, one with boardrooms, contracts, cameras, and reviewers. This part was supposed to be their coming of age and a break from the planned life they'd always had, but it only proved what they were already starting to think. They could never live like other people. Cons of living in the spotlight: the non-stop attention was more annoying, though. The cameras, news blogs, and even some other students saw them as moving targets while they were on campus. Tabloids are said to have printed stories about where they went, how they partied, and even pictures from inside of classes. Later, the twins said they never felt safe at NYU because they didn't know who was just a student and who might be using their private lives to make money. The confusion was made worse by Mary-Kate's personal life. She started dating Stavros Niarchos III, who was the heir to a Greek shipping business. They were together for 5 months before he was linked to Paris Hilton, which ended the relationship quickly. The newspapers jumped on the story. The feared fight never happened in public, but Mary-Kate allegedly broke up with her boyfriend and left New York for Los Angeles. After the fact, a friend said she was heartbroken when she found out Niarchos was seeing Hilton at the same time. In an interview with W Magazine, Mary-Kate talked about why she quit NYU, saying that it was really hectic. She also said that she and Hilton used to be friends but no longer talk. At that point, it was clear that the stress of fame had finally gotten to her. The attention only got stronger as they built their business and tried to grow up out of the public eye. Mary-Kate and Ashley should have been getting used to being adults and moving into freedom at this time. Instead, they had to deal with constant rumors and unwanted attention. Even though they tried to grow up away from the press, the attention only got stronger. As it got harder to hide their private problems, the tragedy at the heart of their fame became clearer. They had never really belonged to themselves. Personal battles behind the scenes, Mary-Kate was quietly going through a much worse problem. She started getting help for an eating problem not long before they turned 18. It was something her family and friends had known about for a long time. Her parents knew they were about to lose the legal right to step in, so they did an intervention while she was still a child to make sure she got help before she could legally refuse it. Michael Pagnotta, who was Mary-Kate's agent at the time, said in a public statement that she had decided to take on the task, but the story wasn't met with kindness. Instead, it was all over the press. Even worse, 3 years later, she had kidney problems, which made her health problems even worse. The close looking didn't end there. It was also up to Ashley to deal with the news. She once sued the National Enquirer for $40 million, 0 cents, over a picture and story that made it look like she had passed out from drugs. Even though the newspaper didn't say much about the payment, they did print an apology and correction, which was a rare move in a time when star scandals were big business. It was so bad that even their friends took part in it. The twins and Spencer Pratt went to the same high school. Spencer Pratt later became a bad guy on the hills. He later brayed in Details magazine that he had sold a picture of Mary-Kate drinking at a party when she wasn't old enough to do so for $50,000, 0 cents. The picture fed the media's obsession and made it harder to tell the difference between private and making money. Some of the most persistent rumors about the twins were about their looks. They were always short, just over 5 feet, but the way they looked became the subject of mean headlines. And during the early 2000s, the media loved it when famous people had meltdowns, and the Olsen size led to a lot of stories. Rumors about drug use or eating disorders were spread on gossip sites and even in major media, with little respect for the truth or the person. Surprisingly, well-known sites took part. When Mary-Kate and Ashley went on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2004, they tried to avoid questions about their weight, but Oprah persisted and asked about reports of eating disorders and even what size clothes they wore on national TV. Many people didn't like what happened at the time, especially since Mary-Kate soon after went to a treatment center for anorexia nervosa. They didn't treat her with care, though. Instead, her condition became hit news. There would be a lot of harsh comparisons between the twins because they worked in the same business. As the kids got older, though, the similarities got harsher and more direct. When Mary-Kate was in the public eye and having problems, she was often the focus of media attention, while Ashley was seen as the better person. Maxim magazine put Ashley at number 37 on its yearly Hot 100 list in 2007, but neither she nor her sister were on the list. The next year, she fell to 47, and Mary-Kate was still barely there. At the same time, Ashley was on the covers of magazines by herself, including Harper's Bazaar in July 2005, while Mary-Kate's name was more often linked to news stories about rehab. While Ashley did an internship with fashion designer Zac Posen, Mary-Kate was getting better. The media focused a lot on this difference, but the sisters stayed close. They even chose to live apart for the first time, which didn't mean they had a fight, even though the media tried to make it look like they did. Fashion job after years of hey being styled, dressed, and sold as a product, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen finally found a place to hide and be themselves. That world was all about clothes. As a simple start, a line of clothes for girls ages 4 to 14 were sold at Walmart shops across the United States. Along with this line, they released a beauty brand for young women called Mary-Kate and Ashley, Real Fashion for Real Girls. For the Olsens, it was the start of something more personal, a place where they could be creative. At first glance, it looked like another branding move. Mary-Kate and Ashley became more serious about working in the fashion business as they got older. They were the main force behind a number of fashion businesses, such as the high-end label The Row and more modern names like Elizabeth and James, Olsen Boyer, and the online store Style Mint. Ashley started The Row as a personal project in 2005 when she set the goal of making the perfect t-shirt. She had women of different ages and body types try out the prototype. She wasn't looking for something flashy, but for something classic and unbranded that was the opposite of everything they had grown up being. As their ideas got better, they became less interested in Hollywood. It was no longer fun for Mary-Kate and Ashley to be shot or talked to. They didn't show up in public very often, and when they did, they usually wore dark clothes with big bodies that didn't look like trends but more like armor. These fashion lines, The Row, Elizabeth and James, Style Mint, and Olsenbo, were more than just clothes. They were a way for people to control how they were seen or not be seen at all. They rarely talked about themselves in interviews, but they did talk a lot about how much they loved making things, fabric, cut, and design. Like fashion had become a language they could use without having to talk about their past. In 2012, when WSJ Magazine gave the Olsen twins the Innovator of the Year award, it wasn't just a big moment in their careers. It was a reward for how clever and business-minded they were in changing the fashion industry. They also gave back. They showed a social conscience by working with Tom's Shoes, giving money to Pennies from Heaven, and making public promises to improve working conditions for fabric workers in Bangladesh. These actions are rarely talked about in news. But even these movements were quiet, almost unwilling, and always kept at arm's length. It was clear that they were successful in fashion, but in many ways it was also their way out, a way to disappear without being seen. It's not just good taste or good branding that made their fashion business what it is in the end. It's a carefully planned getaway, a last quiet act of defiance against a life of being watched. What breaks our hearts the most is that they never stopped running away from the attention that made them famous, even when they were doing well. Romantic problems, their personal lives, on the other hand, kept getting attention. Ashley's love life has mostly stayed out of the press these days. In 2022, she married artist Louis Eisner in secret. In 2023, they had their first child. But Mary-Kate's relationships have been more complex and talked about in public more. In the months before his sad death in 2008, she was said to have been seeing star Heath Ledger. When Diana Wozen, Ledger's masseuse, found him asleep in his New York apartment, she didn't call 911 right away. Instead, she used Ledger's phone to call Mary-Kate. Wozen quickly called the last number he had called and reached Olsen, who was in California at the time. It is said that Mary-Kate agreed to send her private protection team to the scene. Not until the second call, when it was clear that Ledger wasn't breathing, did Wozen call 911 and 11. It's still not clear what kind of bond Mary-Kate and Heath Ledger have. People who knew them said they were dating and spent a lot of time together in the months before he died, but they never said they were dating in public. The fact that Mary-Kate was one of the last people Ledger called only made people more suspicious and interested. The federal government wanted to talk to Mary-Kate about what she might have known after prescription drugs were found in Ledger's system. She refused to help unless she was given protection, which got a lot of attention from the media. Her lawyer, Michael. Later, Miller explained her stance more clearly by saying that Olsen had given the government useful details, such as the order of events that led to Mr. Ledger's death, and the fact that she didn't know where Ledger got the drugs he used. Ashley's private battle with Lyme disease. While Mary-Kate tried to keep the world from wondering about her, Ashley Olsen was dealing with her own health problem in secret. Ashley was found to have Lyme disease in 2015. Lyme disease is spread by ticks and can cause tiredness, joint pain, nerve problems, and problems with thinking. Reports say that the discovery came later than it should have, which may have made her symptoms worse and slowed down her healing. Getting sick hurt both her personal and work life. Ashley was always there in the fashion world, but not too noticeable, since she helped start the high-end brand The Row. But people who were close to her said that she was losing energy and wasn't showing up to work as often. Ashley, on the other hand, hasn't talked much about her health problems in public, unlike her sister. People who know her say that her fight with Lyme disease changed her day-to-day life. This is another part of the twins' lives where they had to deal with fame while also facing deeply personal battles that no one saw. Mary-Kate's messy breakup with Olivier Sarkozy. Mary-Kate Olsen started dating French banker Olivier Sarkozy in 2012 following the Ledger scandal. They broke up in 2015 with a quiet but public wedding. Due to their 17-year age difference, the marriage always got people's attention. It ended in 2020 in a very strange way. It was said that Sarkozy wanted his ex-wife and children to move in with them during the pandemic, which is what made Mary-Kate file for divorce. They did it at the worst possible time because courts were closed because of the pandemic, leaving her without a case. After that, there was a very tense and disorganized split. Things got worse when Sarkozy suddenly ended the lease on the home they shared in Manhattan, allegedly telling Mary-Kate through his lawyers that she had to leave the property quickly. She didn't have many choices and didn't have time to waste, so she had to quickly get her things. During the rough patch, Mary-Kate relied on her twin sister Ashley for a lot of support. The sisters have always had a close relationship, and Ashley's presence gave them security during a very public and emotionally draining event. The divorce was finally completed in January 2021. Even though it was hard, Mary-Kate came out of the breakup with her business and finances still in good shape, thanks to a strong prenuptial agreement that looked out for her best interests. The silence and the abduction. Mary-Kate and Ashley, twins who grew up in the public eye, are known for being very private and hard to find. It's even more mysterious that they're not on any social media sites, not even a confirmed account on Instagram or Twitter, but who could blame them? After years of intense public scrutiny, intrusive camera coverage, and hurtful media stories, they may have found that stepping away from technology is the best way to keep their peace of mind and sense of normality. In what way do you remember the Olsen twins as a child? Like this video? Don't forget to click the like button and follow for more great videos like this.